I mean really, this was never going to be an easy task. This is actually really sweet, as I started YouTubing in 2010. And I'm going through my favourite films of 2010 to 2019. And it's quite nice because when I looked back at the films that I've watched that have been released, it kind of took me a little bit through my entire YouTube journey. And that was really lovely. The narrowing the films down, on the other hand, was not so pleasant. I actually have 10 films that I'm going to say are my favourite, not 5. I tried so hard, and I guess you could say the 5 at the top of this list are my 5 favourites, but after the first, or the last 2, they're not really in a specific order. And I do have some honorary mentions that I really want to just whiz through because I feel like I can't do a favourite films of the decade without just giving these ones a little mention. So in no order we have Suicide Squad, 2016, I love Harley Quinn. Room, 2015, very emotional, a film I haven't seen in a while and I would love to watch it again. Carol, lesbian film, 2015, Cate Blanchett, phenomenal. Still Alice, 2014, Julianne Moore. I still can't get over that film. I just think it's beautiful and it kind of made me fall in love with Julianne Moore. Oculus, 2013, Karen Gillan, that messed with my mind. If you're looking for a film to screw you over in the best way, it will. Gravity, 2013, Sandra Bullock. I know some people hate this film, but personally I loved it and it delivered everything that I'd hoped for. Babadook, 2014. Babadook. I love it. It's so much fun. Train to Busan, 2016, mentally scarred me. Absolutely. It's very rare that a film can terrify me to the level that Train to Busan did. The Founder, 2016, it's about the origins of McDonald's. I don't know why I liked this so much. there was something about it that I just thought was great fun. It had the right level of emotion. It ticked all of the boxes for me. As Above, So Below, 2014, the film about the catacombs in Paris. Again, terrified me. Very hard to do with a film these days, but it worked. And the last honorary mention is Detective Pikachu, 2019. This was actually one of my favourite films from 2019, but it didn't quite make the cut for my list of top 5/10 for the decade. Okay, so as I said, I tried really hard to narrow it down to 5. We're going to have to stick with 10. Technically no order, but we'll start with in reverse. So number 1, or 10, is A Nightmare on Elm Street, the remake. This was one of the first ever films I reviewed on YouTube. I've mentioned before, this was the first horror that I watched that made me fall completely in love with it. Had I not watched Elm Street, I may not have become obsessed with Krueger and Chucky and the darker side of Tim Burton, and I may not be wearing mostly all black all of the time. So I actually owe a lot to this film, and it definitely needed to be in this list, even if it's kind of last place. Number 2 may be one of my top 10 all-time favourite films, I'm not sure. This is the 2014 film Tusk. I only started watching this because Johnny Depp was in it. He's actually not in it that much. I stuck around because it is so fantastically disgusting. I love it. I don't know how much I can say without spoiling it, but it involves the concept of a walrus. If you like things like Human Centipede, you're gonna love Tusk. It's just, it's beautifully creepy. Then we have one that is very much Marmite, and that's Girl on the Train. Emily Blunt just blew my mind with this one. This film it's not one of the best made films, but I have a very strong soft spot, oxymoron, for any film that deals with mental health and addiction or anything like that. And Girl on the Train did it so well. I have read the book since then and I really enjoyed it, but the film for me is one of the finest things I've seen in the last 10 years. The next one is actually in my top 5 all-time favourite films. So this may be higher up the list. As I said, it gets a little bit confusing at this point. Saving Mr. Banks. Emma Thompson plays P.L. Travers, and it's all about how Mary Poppins came to be the film that we know and love. And it's fun, it's colourful, but there's a little bit of raw emotion in it as well with P.L. Travers, and I've talked about it quite a bit on this channel. I won't go on, but I love it. 2014, Disney's Maleficent. This was before Disney decided to remake everything in their catalogue, and Angelina Jolie's Maleficent is gorgeous. I love the film, I love everything about it. Maleficent's my favourite Disney villain. I love how dark it is. It's sensational. The second film's alright, but Maleficent is just perfect. It wouldn't be one of my lists without a Tim Burton film in it. and for me, Big Eyes is one of his most beautiful films and one of his most underrated as well. It tells the story of Margaret Keane, who was trapped in a very horrible relationship with a lot of lies and deceit. And it's about her journey as an artist, and it's got the stamp of Burton right throughout it, but it's not your typical Burton. It's not your Nightmare or your Frankenweenie or your Dark Shadows. It's his biopic side, and he does biopics so fantastically well. Number 4 is the 2015 musical movie London Road. This is about the Ipswich Ripper and the prostitutes that he murdered. And that sounds dark, but it's actually about the community coming together on London Road and how they all got through it and became stronger as a community. Olivia Colman's in this. The soundtrack is amazing. I love the narrative. I love how they've done it. The soundtrack is very addictive. I sing Cellular Material to myself on an almost daily basis, and the cat hates me. London Road is incredible. Third from the end, it feels weird that this film was out in that decade. It feels longer. That's Les Mis. Les Mis, I saw Les Mis, and I've not stopped listening to the soundtrack. I've been listening to that soundtrack probably at least one song once a day for 8 years. And I have, of course, since then I've read the book, I've seen it on stage. I only watched Les Mis, or one of the main reasons I watched Les Mis was because HBC was in it, it's Madame Thénardier, and I have very much fallen in love with it, and it's very much one of my favourite musicals, and definitely needed to be in the top 3 for this. Okay, so the next one is in my list of top 5 or top 6 all-time favourite films, I can't remember, but this is The Visit, 2015, smack bang in the middle of the decade. The Visit is incredible. It's about these 2 children who go and stay with their grandparents, but not everything is as it seems, and it's so psychologically messed up. And that is why I love it. It is perfect. I've talked about this one quite a bit on here. It's one of my favourite films of all time, definitely my favourite horror thriller. And the last one, given my current attire, may not come as any surprise, Star Wars. Now, I'm putting them all in. Well, the ones that were released in the last decade. I am a new Star Wars fan, so this is a new love, but I have watched, I've seen them all, I've seen all of the Star Wars films now, but I just can't get enough of it, and for me, I feel like I just had to put it in this list. I can't decide between The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker, but I love them all. So, for me to end the year with this new love and this new obsession is fantastic. And to end the decade that way, I know I'm late to the party, but I love it. Those are my top 10 plus some honoraries and a little cop-out for technically number 1 because I can't choose one film. I'm very interested to hear your top 10 releases of the last decade. Good luck if you do it. I hope you do it. It's a lot of fun. I use Letterboxd to log all my watches, so I just sorted that by decade and went through that list and had a small breakdown trying to narrow them down, but it was fun. It was a nice way to recap. I really look forward to reading your answers.